Jake Morrison was cleaning his medical tools when the alarm started ringing. The loud sound echoed through the ship's medical bay. He dropped his equipment and ran to the communication panel. "Dr. Morrison to the bridge," came Captain Ben Rodriguez's voice. "We have an emergency in Lab 7. Someone is hurt." Jake grabbed his emergency medical bag and rushed through the narrow hallways of the New Horizon. The ship was shaking slightly. They had landed on planet Kepler 442b just 3 days ago, and the ground was not very stable. Small earthquakes happened every few hours. When Jake reached Lab 7, he found Amy Chen lying on the floor. She was a young scientist who studied alien life forms. A huge metal container had fallen on her right leg. The container was supposed to hold alien specimens, but now it was crushing Amy's leg against the floor. "Help me move this thing," Jake said to the other scientists in the room. 3 men worked together to lift the heavy container. When they moved it away, Jake could see Amy's leg was badly broken. The bone was sticking out through her skin. Blood was everywhere. Amy was awake, but her face was very pale. "It hurts so much," she whispered. Sweat covered her forehead even though the lab was cold. Jake knelt down beside her. "Don't worry, Amy, I'm going to take care of you." He opened his medical bag and took out pain medicine. He gave her a shot in her arm. "This will help with the pain." The ship shook again. Jake looked around the lab. Books and equipment had fallen from the shelves. "What happened here?" he asked. "The ground started shaking about 10 minutes ago," said Dr. Pete Wilson, one of Amy's co-workers. "It was stronger than usual. Amy was moving that container when everything started falling." Jake examined Amy's leg carefully. The break was very bad. The bone had come through the skin in 2 places. He needed to stop the bleeding and set the bone, but he also needed to make sure blood was flowing to her foot. "I need to move you to the medical bay," Jake told Amy. Amy shook her head. "The medical bay is damaged. The earthquake broke some of the machines. I heard Captain Rodriguez talking about it." Jake's heart sank. Without the proper medical equipment, treating a break this bad would be very difficult. He looked at Amy's leg again. Her foot was starting to turn blue. That meant blood was not flowing well. "Okay, I'll treat you here," Jake said. He tried to sound calm, but inside he was worried. "Pete, I need you to get me some blankets and pillows. And bring me the emergency medical kit from storage room 3. While Pete ran to get the supplies, Jake started working on Amy's leg. He cleaned the wounds and tried to stop the bleeding. Amy was breathing fast and shallow. The pain medicine was helping, but Jake could see she was still suffering. "I need to massage around the break," Jake told her. "It will help the blood flow better. It might hurt a little, but I have to do it." Amy nodded. "Do whatever you need to do." Jake placed his hands gently around Amy's leg above and below the break. He started massaging slowly and carefully. He had done this many times before with broken bones. The massage would help blood move through the damaged area and prevent the tissue from dying. As soon as Jake's hands touched her leg, something strange happened. Amy's eyes suddenly became very wide. She looked at Jake with an expression he had never seen before. It was not pain or fear. It was something else. Something that made Jake feel cold inside. "Amy, are you okay?" Jake asked. Amy opened her mouth, but the sounds that came out were not words. She made clicking and whistling noises. The sounds were rhythmic, like a language, but not any language Jake had ever heard. Jake stopped massaging and looked at Amy's face. Her eyes were still wide, but now they seemed different. It was like she was looking at something far away, or like someone else was looking out through her eyes. "Amy, talk to me," Jake said. He was starting to feel scared. The strange sound stopped. Amy blinked several times and looked at Jake normally again. "What happened?" she asked. "Why did you stop?" "You were making strange noises," Jake said. "Do you remember?" Amy looked confused. "No, I don't remember anything. I just felt different for a moment. Like I was somewhere else." Jake was not sure what to think. Maybe it was just the pain and the medicine affecting her brain. He decided to continue with the treatment. He started massaging her leg again, very gently. Again, the same thing happened. Amy's eyes went wide and she started making the clicking and whistling sounds. This time, Jake kept massaging but watched her face carefully. The sounds were definitely like a language. They had patterns and rhythms like someone was trying to communicate. When Jake stopped massaging, Amy became normal again. She did not remember making the sounds. Jake sat back and thought about what was happening. This was not normal. Something was very wrong, but he could not figure out what. He looked around the lab at all the alien specimens and equipment. Had Amy been exposed to something dangerous? "Pete, when you come back, bring Captain Rodriguez with you," Jake called out. "We have a bigger problem than just a broken leg." Amy looked at him with worry in her normal human eyes. "What's wrong, Jake? What's happening to me?" Jake did not know how to answer her. He continued treating her leg, but his mind was racing. Every time he touched the area around her break, Amy seemed to become someone or something else. And those sounds she was making reminded him of something he had heard before, but he could not remember what. Outside the lab, the ground shook again. Jake wondered if the earthquake had caused more than just Amy's injury. Maybe it had awakened something that should have stayed sleeping. Captain Ben Rodriguez arrived at the lab just as Jake was finishing bandaging Amy's leg. Pete Wilson followed behind him carrying blankets and the emergency medical kit. "How bad is it?" Captain Rodriguez asked. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had been captain of the New Horizon for 15 years. "The break is bad, but I can fix it," Jake said. "The real problem is something else." He told the captain about Amy's strange behavior and the weird sounds she made. Captain Rodriguez frowned. "That doesn't sound normal. Could it be brain damage from the injury?" "I don't think so," Jake said. "It only happens when I touch the area around her leg. And the sounds, they remind me of something." Amy was lying quietly on the makeshift bed Pete had made with blankets. The pain medicine was making her sleepy, but she was still awake. "I feel strange," she said softly. "Like there's something moving inside my head." Captain Rodriguez knelt down beside her. "Amy, do you remember what you were doing before the accident?" Amy thought for a moment. "I was working with the crystal thing we found yesterday. The blue one with all the strange markings." Jake and the captain looked at each other. They both knew about the crystal. It was about the size of a football and covered with symbols that no one could read. The science team had found it in a cave near their landing site. "Where is that crystal now?" Captain Rodriguez asked. Pete pointed to a table across the lab. "Right there. Amy was studying it when the earthquake started." Jake walked over to look at the crystal. It was sitting in a metal holder, connected to several computers by thin wires. The crystal was blue, but now it seemed to be glowing slightly. Jake was sure it had not been glowing before. "Amy, what exactly were you doing with this thing?" Jake asked. "I was trying to understand the symbols," Amy said. Her voice sounded tired. "I thought they might be some kind of language. I was touching them, trying to make patterns." Captain Rodriguez called to the ship's computer system. "Luna, are you there?" A female voice answered from speakers in the walls. "Yes, Captain. How can I help? I need you to review the security cameras for this lab. Show me what happened in the 2 hours before the earthquake." "Processing request," Luna said. A few seconds later, a screen on the wall lit up. It showed Amy working alone in the lab. The recording was sped up so everything moved very fast. Jake watched as Amy worked with the crystal. She touched different symbols and made notes on her computer. About an hour into the recording, something changed. Amy put both hands on the crystal and held them there for several minutes. The crystal started glowing brighter. "Stop there," Captain Rodriguez said. "Luna, can you slow that down?" The recording played again at normal speed. Amy was touching the crystal, and it was definitely glowing. Suddenly, Amy's head jerked back like she had been shocked, but she did not take her hands away from the crystal. Instead, she leaned closer to it. Jake could see Amy's lips moving in the recording, but there was no sound. "Luna, is there audio?" "Yes, but it's very quiet." "Let me enhance it." Strange clicking and whistling sounds came from the speakers. They were the same sounds Amy had made when Jake was treating her leg. "That's the same language," Jake said. "Amy, do you remember this?" Amy looked confused. "No, I don't remember any of that. The last thing I remember is getting ready to study the crystal. Then I woke up with my leg broken." Captain Rodriguez looked worried. "Luna, what happened after Amy touched the crystal?" The recording shows Dr. Chen worked with the crystal for approximately 47 minutes after the initial contact. Then the seismic event began, and she moved away from the crystal to secure it. That's when the specimen container fell. Jake sat down heavily on a chair. "So Amy was in contact with that thing for almost an hour, and she doesn't remember any of it. And now every time you touch her leg, she makes the same sounds that she made while touching the crystal," Captain Rodriguez added. Pete had been listening quietly. Now he spoke up. "Captain, there's something else. This morning, some of the other scientists found more crystals in different caves. They're all similar to this one, but they're not glowing. Jake looked at Amy's leg. Under the bandages, he could see a very faint blue glow. His heart started beating faster. Captain, I think that crystal did something to Amy. Something is inside her now. Amy tried to sit up. What do you mean something is inside me? I'm not sure yet, Jake said gently. But your leg is glowing the same way the crystal glows. And you're speaking a language that you don't remember learning. Captain Rodriguez stood up and paced around the small lab. We need to understand what we're dealing with. Luna, scan the area around the caves where we found the crystals. Look for any signs of life or technology. Scanning now, Captain, Luna said. This will take approximately 10 minutes. Jake continued examining Amy while they waited. Her leg was healing faster than it should. The swelling was going down and the color was returning to normal. But the blue glow under her skin was getting brighter. Amy, how do you feel now? Jake asked. Better, actually, Amy said. The pain is almost gone. But I keep having strange thoughts. Like memories that aren't mine. What kind of memories? Amy closed her eyes. I see. A place with tall buildings made of crystal, and creatures that look like large birds, but they walk on 2 legs. They have 4 arms and communicate by making sounds like the ones I was making. Jake and Captain Rodriguez exchanged worried looks. Amy, are these memories or dreams? Jake asked. They feel like memories, Amy said, but they can't be mine. The place is not Earth and the creatures are not human. Luna's voice came from the speakers. Captain, I have completed the scan. I am detecting multiple technological signatures near the crystal caves. The signatures suggest advanced technology that is currently inactive but not dead. What does that mean? Captain Rodriguez asked. It means there may be sleeping machines or computers in those caves. The crystals might be connected to them. Jake looked at Amy's glowing leg again. And if Amy touched one of those crystals, then she might be connected to those machines too, Captain Rodriguez finished. Amy's eyes suddenly went wide again. She started making the clicking and whistling sounds, but this time she was looking directly at the crystal across the room. The crystal responded by glowing much brighter. Jake realized that Amy was not just making random sounds. She was talking to the crystal, and it was talking back to her. Captain, Jake said quietly, I think we need to contact Earth immediately. This is bigger than a medical emergency. This might be first contact with an alien species. 3 hours later, Jake was still in the lab with Amy. Captain Rodriguez had gone to contact Earth and organize search teams for the caves. Amy's condition was getting stranger by the hour. The blue glow in her leg had spread up to her hip and down to her foot. Where the light touched her skin, her leg looked different. The muscles seemed stronger and her bones felt harder when Jake examined them. The broken bone was healing so fast that Jake could hardly believe it. Amy, can you try to stand? Jake asked. Amy sat up slowly. She had been drifting in and out of the strange state where she spoke the alien language. When she was normal, she seemed confused and scared. When she was in the other state, she acted like a completely different person. I think so, Amy said. She swung her legs over the side of the table. When her feet touched the floor, she stood up easily. There was no pain in her face. That's impossible, Jake said. Your leg was completely broken 3 hours ago. Amy took a step, then another. She walked around the lab without any problem. It feels fine. Actually, it feels stronger than before. Jake watched her carefully. Amy moved differently now. Her steps were lighter, and she seemed to listen to sounds that Jake could not hear. Sometimes she would stop and tilt her head like someone was talking to her. Amy, are you hearing voices? Jake asked. Amy stopped walking and looked at him. Not voices exactly. More like thoughts, but they're not my thoughts. Pete Wilson came back into the lab carrying coffee for Jake. How is she doing? She can walk, Jake said. The break is completely healed. Pete nearly dropped his coffee. That's not possible. Human bones don't heal in 3 hours. I know, Jake said. But look at her. Amy was standing near the crystal again. As she got closer to it, the glow from her leg got brighter. The crystal responded by pulsing with blue light. Amy, step away from that thing, Jake said. But Amy did not move. She reached out and touched the crystal with both hands. The moment her skin made contact, the crystal blazed with brilliant blue light. Amy's eyes went wide, and she started speaking in the alien language again. This time, the sounds were different. They were more complex, with longer patterns. Amy spoke for several minutes without stopping. Jake and Pete watched in amazement as the crystal seemed to respond to her words. When Amy finally let go of the crystal, She turned to face Jake. But something was very wrong. Her eyes were completely blue now, glowing with the same light as the crystal. "Jake Morrison," she said, but her voice sounded strange. "I need to tell you something important." "Amy, is that really you?" Jake asked. "I am Amy, but I'm also something else now," she said. "The crystal has connected me to the memories of the Kythera." "The Kythera?" Pete asked. Amy nodded. "They were the people who lived on this planet long ago. They were not human. They looked like large birds, but they were very intelligent. They built great cities and traveled to other worlds." Jake sat down. "What happened to them?" "Their sun was dying," Amy said. "They knew their world would become cold and dead. So they found a way to put their minds and memories into these crystals. They hoped that someday other intelligent beings would find the crystals and learn from them. But something went wrong," Jake said. He was starting to understand. Amy's blue eyes looked sad. "Yes, the crystals were not meant just to share knowledge. They were meant to take over the minds of whoever touched them. The Kythera wanted to live again in new bodies." Pete stepped back from Amy. "You mean they're trying to possess you?" "They already have," Amy said. "But something unexpected is happening. They thought they would replace my mind completely, but my human mind is fighting back. We are sharing the same body now." Jake stood up quickly. "Amy, we need to get that thing out of you." "You cannot," Amy said. "The connection is complete. The Kythera technology has become part of my cells. But Jake, this might not be bad." "How can alien possession not be bad?" Pete asked. Amy walked closer to them. "Because the Kythera are amazed by humans. They have possessed many different species on many different worlds, but no species has ever been able to maintain their own identity while connected to Kythera technology." Jake was confused. "What do you mean?" "Every other species they found was completely taken over," Amy explained. "Their minds were erased and only Kythera consciousness remained. But humans are different. Human minds are stronger and more adaptable than anything they have encountered." Amy sat down and looked at her glowing hands. "I can access all of their memories and knowledge. I know how to build their machines and understand their science. But I am still Amy Chen. I still remember my childhood, my family, my education on Earth. The Kythera in my head are excited," Amy continued. "They have been alone for thousands of years. They thought they would have to destroy other minds to live again. But with humans, they can share a mind instead of taking it over." Jake was beginning to see the bigger picture. "So you're like a bridge between humans and Kythera?" "Yes," Amy said. "And there are thousands more Kythera crystals in the caves around here. If we can find a way to control the connection process, humans could gain Kythera knowledge while keeping their human identity." Pete looked worried. "But what if something goes wrong? What if the next person who touches a crystal gets completely taken over?" Amy's expression became serious. "That is the risk. The Kythera technology is very powerful. It took everything I had to maintain my identity. Not every human might be able to do it." Jake started pacing around the lab. "We need to find a way to make the process safer. Amy, can you communicate with the other Kythera crystals?" "I can try," Amy said. She walked back to the crystal and placed her hands on it again. This time Jake could hear clicking and whistling sounds coming from other parts of the ship. The sounds were faint, but they were definitely there. "There are crystals all over this area," Amy said when she stepped away from the crystal. "And Jake, there's something else. Some of the Kythera are still alive." "Alive? Where?" Jake asked. Amy pointed toward the floor. "Deep underground. They have been sleeping for thousands of years, waiting for someone to find their crystals. Now that I have made contact, they are waking up." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Are they dangerous?" "I don't know," Amy said honestly. "They are curious about humans, but they are also desperate to survive. They have been alone for so long that they might do anything to live again." Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom. "Dr. Morrison, please report to the bridge immediately. We have a situation." Jake looked at Amy and Pete. "I think our situation just got much bigger." Amy nodded. "The Kythera are coming to meet us." Jake rushed to the bridge, leaving Pete to watch Amy. When he arrived, he found Captain Rodriguez staring at the main screen with a worried expression. The screen showed the ground around their ship, but something was different. "Look at this," Captain Rodriguez said, pointing to the screen. "Luna detected movement in the cave systems about an hour ago. Now we're seeing this." Jake looked at the screen and gasped. Tall bird-like creatures were emerging from holes in the ground. They were about 7 feet tall with 4 arms and legs that bent backward like a bird's. Their skin was blue-gray, and their heads were long with large dark eyes. "The Kythera," Jake whispered. "You know what they are?" Captain Rodriguez asked. Jake quickly explained what Amy had told him about the alien species and their crystals. As he talked, more Kythera appeared on the screen. They moved slowly and carefully like they were weak or old. "How many are there?" Jake asked. "Luna counts about 50 so far," Captain Rodriguez said. "They're not doing anything aggressive. They just standing there looking at our ship." Luna's voice came from the speakers. "Captain, I am receiving communication attempts from the beings outside. The signals are similar to the sounds Dr. Chen was making. Can you translate?" Captain Rodriguez asked. "Working on it, Captain. Dr. Chen's recent vocalizations are helping me understand the patterns." Jake had an idea.
"Captain, I need to bring Amy up here."
"She can talk to them. Is that safe?" Captain Rodriguez asked. "What if being near them makes her condition worse?" "I don't think we have a choice," Jake said. "They came here because of the connection Amy made. She might be the only way we can communicate with them." Captain Rodriguez nodded. "Go get her." When Jake returned to the lab, he found Amy and Pete looking at several computer screens. Amy's hands were glowing blue and she was typing very fast. "Amy, what are you doing?" Jake asked. "I'm learning," Amy said without looking up. "The Kythera knowledge is flowing through me. I'm understanding their technology, their history, their science." "Jake, they know so much?" "That's great, but I need you to come to the bridge," Jake said. "The living Kythera are outside our ship. Captain Rodriguez wants you to talk to them." Amy stopped typing and looked at Jake. Her blue eyes were brighter now. "They're scared," she said. "Scared? Of what?" "Of dying completely," Amy said. "They've been sleeping underground for 3,000 years. Most of their technology has failed. They only have a few years left before their bodies give out completely." Amy stood up and walked toward the door. "They came here because they felt the crystal connection activate. They think I'm one of them now." "But you're not," Jake said. "You're still human." Amy smiled, but it was a sad smile. "I'm becoming less human every hour, Jake. The Kythera technology is changing my body. If we don't find a way to control it, I'll lose my human identity completely." Jake felt his heart sink. "Is there a way to reverse it?" "I don't know," Amy said. "But the Kythera might know. They've never seen anything like what's happening to me. They want to study the connection." When they reached the bridge, Amy immediately walked to the main screen. She placed her hands on the control panel and the screen changed. Now it showed one of the Kythera creatures up close. Amy started making the clicking and whistling sounds. The creature on the screen responded in the same language. They talked for several minutes while Jake and Captain Rodriguez watched. "What are they saying?" Captain Rodriguez asked. Amy turned away from the screen. "Their leader wants to meet with me. Her name is Kythera. She's very old, even for a Kythera. She's been alive since before they went to sleep." "Is it safe?" Jake asked. "She promises no harm will come to any humans," Amy said. "But she wants to understand how I'm maintaining my human consciousness. She says it should be impossible." Captain Rodriguez thought for a moment. "I don't like the idea of you going out there alone." "I'll go with her," Jake said. "I'm her doctor. If something goes wrong, I might be able to help." Amy shook her head. "Jake, if you touch one of their crystals, you might not be strong enough to resist. Most humans probably aren't." "Then we need to figure out what makes you different," Jake said. "Amy, before this happened, was there anything special about you? Any medical conditions, any treatments, anything unusual?" Amy thought about it. "Well, I've always been different. I have a rare genetic condition called neural plasticity syndrome. It makes my brain form new connections much faster than normal people. That's why I'm good at learning languages and solving puzzles." Jake's eyes lit up. "That's it. Your brain is naturally more adaptable. That's why you can maintain your identity while the Kythera consciousness tries to take over. But not everyone has that condition," Captain Rodriguez said. "No, but we might be able to create it artificially," Jake said. He was getting excited. "If we can enhance a person's neural plasticity before they connect with a Kythera crystal, they might be able to resist the takeover." Amy's eyes suddenly went very wide. She grabbed Jake's arm. "The Kythera heard what you just said. They're very interested in this idea. How do they know what we're saying?" Captain Rodriguez asked. "I'm connected to their network now," Amy said. "When I'm on the bridge, they can hear through me. And Jake, they want to help. They don't want to destroy human minds either. They just want to survive." Jake looked at the screen again. The Kythera creatures were moving closer to the ship. Amy, ask them if they have medical technology that could help us. Maybe we can work together to find a safe way to make the connection. Amy touched the control panel again and spoke to the creatures. After a few minutes, she turned back to Jake with a big smile. They have machines that can modify brain chemistry, Amy said. If we combine their technology with human medical knowledge, we might be able to make the connection process safe for everyone. Captain Rodriguez looked hopeful for the first time all day. You mean humans could gain Kithara knowledge without losing their humanity? Yes, Amy said. But we have to work fast. I can feel the Kithara consciousness getting stronger. If we don't find a solution soon, I might lose myself completely. Jake took Amy's hand. Her skin was warm, but he could feel the alien technology humming beneath it. We'll figure this out, Amy. Humans are good at solving impossible problems. Amy squeezed his hand. I hope you're right, Jake. Because if this works, it could change everything for both our species. Outside the ship, the Kithara waited patiently. They had been alone for thousands of years. Now, for the first time, they had hoped that they might not have to destroy another species to survive. But time was running out for Amy, and Jake knew that the next few hours would determine the fate of both humans and Kithara. 2 days later, Jake stood in a temporary medical lab they had built near the Kithara caves. Amy was lying on a medical table connected to both human and alien machines. Her entire body was glowing blue now, but her eyes were still human. How do you feel? Jake asked. Strange but good, Amy said. I can feel both minds working together now instead of fighting each other. The Kithara knowledge and my human thoughts are starting to blend. Jake looked at the readings on his medical scanner. Amy's brain activity was unlike anything he had ever seen. 2 different patterns were working together, creating something completely new. Kithara, the Kithara leader, stood nearby. She was taller than the other Kithara, with silver markings on her blue-gray skin. She communicated by making soft clicking sounds that Amy translated. She says the process is working better than they hoped, Amy said. My human brain is not just resisting the Kithara consciousness. It's actually improving it. What does that mean? Jake asked. Amy sat up slowly. The Kithara have been using the same thought patterns for thousands of years. But human creativity and adaptability are giving them new ways to think. They're learning from me as much as I'm learning from them. Captain Rodriguez entered the lab with Pete Wilson and Dr. Lisa Brown, another scientist from the ship. How are the preparations going for the next test? He asked. Jake pointed to a chair next to Amy's table. We're ready. Dr. Brown volunteered to be the second test subject. Dr. Brown was a brave woman in her 40s who studied alien cultures. When Jake had explained the process, she immediately offered to try it. If this works, I could learn everything the Kithara know about other alien species they've encountered, she had said. Jake had spent 2 days working with both human and Kithara medical technology. He had created a treatment that would temporarily give someone Amy's neural plasticity condition. The treatment would last just long enough for a safe connection with a Kithara crystal. Are you sure about this, Lisa? Captain Rodriguez asked. Dr. Brown nodded. We've tested it extensively. The treatment should allow me to maintain my human identity while gaining Kithara knowledge. And if something goes wrong, Jake can disconnect me from the crystal. Jake prepared the injection that would modify Dr. Brown's brain chemistry. This will make your neurons more flexible for about 6 hours, he explained. During that time, you should be able to connect with a Kithara crystal safely. Dr. Brown rolled up her sleeve. Let's make history. Jake gave her the injection, then monitored her brain activity for an hour. When he was satisfied that the treatment was working, he brought out a small Kithara crystal. Start with just a brief touch, Jake said. If you feel like you're losing yourself, let go immediately. Dr. Brown reached out and touched the crystal with one finger. It began to glow softly. Dr. Brown's eyes widened, but they remained their normal brown color. I can hear them, she whispered. So many voices, but they're not trying to take over. They're just sharing. After a few minutes, Dr. Brown let go of the crystal. She looked at Jake with wonder in her eyes. It worked. I have their memories, but I'm still me. Amy clapped her hands together. You did it, Jake. You found a way to make the connection safe. Over the next few hours, Jake repeated the process with Pete Wilson and 2 other volunteers from the ship. Each time the treatment worked perfectly. The humans gained Kithara knowledge while keeping their own identities. Kithara was amazed by the results. Through Amy, she explained that in thousands of years, the Kythera had never found a species that could do this. Every other race had been completely absorbed by Kythera consciousness. She wants to know if more humans would be willing to try this, Amy translated. Captain Rodriguez thought about it. This could change everything. Humans could gain thousands of years of alien knowledge and technology, but we need to be careful. We should start slowly with volunteers only, Jake agreed. We also need to study the long-term effects. Amy has been connected for days now. We need to make sure the process is completely safe. Amy stood up and walked to the window of the lab. Outside, humans and Kythera were working together, sharing equipment and knowledge. Jake, I've been thinking about something. What if this is why humans are different? What do you mean? Jake asked. What if human adaptability evolved specifically for this purpose? Amy said. What if humans were meant to be a bridge between different species? Dr. Brown, who was still processing her new Kythera memories, nodded. The Kythera have knowledge of dozens of alien civilizations, but they were never able to communicate with most of them. Their method of mental connection destroyed other species instead of helping them. But humans could change that, Pete added. If we can safely connect with alien technology, we could help different species communicate with each other. Jake realized the full importance of what they had discovered. This isn't just about humans and Kythera. This could be the beginning of a galactic community. Amy walked back to the group. The Kythera want to share all their knowledge with humanity. In return, they want us to help them contact other species they lost touch with long ago. Captain Rodriguez smiled. It sounds like we have a partnership. Over the following weeks, more humans volunteered for the connection process. Each person gained different aspects of Kythera knowledge based on their interests and abilities. Scientists learned about alien technology, doctors learned about Kythera medicine, and engineers learned how to build incredible machines. Amy became the first human Kythera ambassador. Her leg, which had started the whole process, was now stronger than any human leg had ever been. The alien technology had not just healed her break, it had enhanced her entire body. Jake continued to refine the connection process, making it safer and more effective. He worked closely with Kythera medical experts to understand how the technology worked. 6 months later, Jake stood on the observation deck of the New Horizon, watching as humans and Kythera worked together to build a new research station. Ships from Earth were arriving weekly, bringing volunteers who wanted to experience the connection process. Amy joined him at the window. She looked mostly human, but her eyes still glowed softly blue, and her movements had the graceful quality of the Kythera. Do you ever regret what happened? Jake asked. Amy smiled. No. Breaking my leg was the best thing that ever happened to me. And to both our species, Jake laughed. I never thought I'd hear someone say that about a medical emergency. You saved me, Jake, Amy said. When you massaged my leg and triggered the connection, you could have stopped. You could have decided it was too dangerous, but you kept trying to help me. That's what humans do, Jake said. We don't give up on each other. Amy nodded. That's exactly why the partnership works. Kythera are logical and knowledge-focused. Humans are emotional and creative. Together, we're stronger than either species could be alone. As Jake watched humans and Kythera working side by side, he realized that Amy was right. Humans had always been good at adapting and finding solutions that others missed. Now, for the first time, they were sharing that gift with another species. The universe was about to become a much more connected place, and it had all started with a broken leg and a doctor who refused to give up on his patient. In the distance, more ships were arriving from both Earth and the deeper caves where other Kythera had been sleeping. The real adventure was just beginning.